Welcome to our Marquette Hoops television show. My name is John Dodds. Tom Pippins is on assignment. Today we'll continue our conversation with Hall of Fame point guard Tony Smith. He's also a radio analyst with Steve the Homer True on Marquette's radio network. We will talk to Tony about his basketball career at Marquette, being recruited by Rick Majerus, playing for Bob Duquette. Then we'll talk about the transition when Kevin O'Neill took over for Bob Duquette. How Tony Smith was a two-guard who Bob Duquette wouldn't allow to dribble the ball up as a point guard, and 4 years later was a starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. Thanks to Moonlight Graham, our sponsor, Modern Dental Benefits. We couldn't do this show without them, so we appreciate their sponsorship. There was some breaking news on Wednesday. Marquette received its second commitment for the 2024 class when they received a commitment from Royce Parnham, a 6'9", 210-pound power forward from North Hills School in Pittsburgh. Now, he's a junior in high school, so he'll be a senior in high school next year. He'll come to Marquette in 2 years. He joins Demarius Owens, the 6'7" small forward, who's blowing up right now in spring ball. So Marquette has two recruits now for 2024. The thing that strikes me about Parnham is his shooting touch. He's a power forward and he's a rebounder, but he's got a great shooting touch for free throws, and he can hit the three-point shot. I think he'll be terrific in terms of ceiling for Marquette. Marquette's biggest weakness was rebounding this year, and one way to counteract that is to get your 6'9" players who are more power forwards who can rebound. And I think this Parnham fits the bill. Parnham chose Marquette over Xavier, Pittsburgh, and Penn State. He was also looking at Notre Dame and Wisconsin. So he's a big man. He's rated 68th on the 2024 class in our 24/7 composite rankings. Our website, marquettehoops.com, has some videotape of him, as well as some scouting reports from our 24/7 staff, part of the CBS Digital Network. Let's continue our interview with Tony Smith. In preparing for this, I was going to ask you a question that maybe you've never had before. What was Bob Duquette really like?
Coach Duquette was, it was an interesting experience with Coach Duquette. There were some moments where, man, I didn't know what was going on. The most memorable practice I had was, I think he was upset with the media one day, and the next day in practice he came back. He did not speak at all. He had a towel on his head, and he did not speak. He was basically speaking gibberish. He was just like blah, 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 blah. He would point and do this and do this. I think the assistant coaches knew what the practice plan was, but we didn't know what he was saying, and he just had his towel in his head, speaking gibberish, and we went through practice that entire way, and it was, I'm just playing, get my head down, and play ball. I had to do that to stop from laughing.
Thank goodness the portal wasn't available back then, because Tony probably would have been hitting it quick. Rick Majerus was coaching Marquette through 86, and in 85-86 he had 19 wins, but he had 1 point loss to Wisconsin. He had an unbelievable 2-point loss to North Carolina, number one. I talked to Al McGuire about it years later, and he said that one year he had all these close losses, and I don't know if he felt beleaguered or under pressure, but Don Nelson called him to the Bucks. So it's June, and you had already committed. You had been at Tosa East, and I think you had signed with Marquette, and you had signed with Majerus and Rick Cobb. I think they were the ones that were recruiting you. Can you talk about that? Because I know that Duquette was hired in June when all the other coaches were already set with their basketball camps and nobody wanted to move. And Hank Raymond came up with an idea that at second blush, this is a great idea. He said, why don't I come back for a year and we can wait until we can get all the coaches.
Really?
And he said, and you don't want to do that to Hank because he would take it so seriously, and he'd age 10 years every year. And So you don't know if you wanted to do that to him, but that's when Duquette got hired in that June. And talk about what your decision process was.
Yeah, I was recruited by Majerus and Cobb. I remember those guys in my living room talking to my mom about, how they're going to take care of me and what we're going to do. And, as I always tell Homer, my real commitment to school, because I cut off my recruiting pretty early because I was going to stay in state. So it was between Marquette, Wisconsin, and UWGB because of Bennett over there. And I needed to stay close to home because I wanted my mom to be able to attend games. Having her have to travel was not going to be an option because of her work, and my younger sister's still at home, so it was going to be tough for her to do that. So I wanted to stay close to home, so I figured Green Bay is close enough, Madison's close enough, and obviously Marquette is 10 minutes away. And ultimately, that was one of the main reasons that I stayed. So even though the coaching staff left, I wasn't so much picking Marquette for the coaching staff as I was for the school and how close it was to home.
There was a rebound. Athletes in Action shot the ball, and there was a ball bounced off the rim. And 7'4" Ralph Drollinger jumped up for it, and everybody else in the pack jumped up for it. And Tony was in the pack, and then all of a sudden, everybody else peaked and started coming down. And Ralph Drollinger was still going up. He stopped. And then Tony kept going up and grabbed it over Ralph Drollinger and came back. And there was a gasp in the end zone of the arena. Like, that guy was on the trampoline. That was an incredible rebound. I've never, until Dwayne Wade got here, I'd never heard anybody gasp on some non-scoring dunk on the floor. But that was you really came on the scene, and you were two guard then to Pop Sims' point.
Yeah, Pop Sims, Kevin Johnson, those guys were playing the point guard. I was playing the two at that position. You're right. And I remember playing Athletes in Action. I don't remember that play that you're mentioning, but I remember that first game against Athletes in Action. And, it's always a change when you get from high school and you come into the college level. I mean, just the guys are bigger. Obviously, you're not starting. You're trying to find your way, right? You're trying to make your way on that team. And it's an exciting transition, of course, but I understand what the young guys are going through right now, but just a matter of how hungry are you. You got to be super hungry. And I think I was pretty hungry coming in as a young freshman and trying to figure out, okay, how good can I be? What can I do on this team? And trying to figure it out.
I wanted to ask you a question about the biggest fight I've ever seen personally in a college game was against Northwestern, of all teams.
Wasn't me.
Western against Marquette.
What's that, Tony?
I said it wasn't me. I wasn't fighting.
Right. You were probably out because Candolino was in the game, and it was getting chippy between Joe Nathan and the Northwestern center. And all of a sudden I saw the Northwestern center punching Joe Nathan. He's fallen like a tree, and he's got him pinned, and he's just whacking them both. And Joe Nathan was the guy that if you had a gun with 6 bullets in and he was coming at you in an alley, you would probably empty 5 of them and he'd be mad. So you better have the 6th one ready to go. But so I thought, boy, I don't think that's smart doing that. So Candolino knocked the guy off, then challenged all the Northwestern players. Pat Foley was in front of the Marquette band, and he was being surrounded by 3 Northwestern guys who were taking pot shots in his chin, and every time he got hit in the chin, his smile got bigger, and he'd give one back to the guy that gave it. So I'm watching this. There's 3 different things going on, and then Bill Cords, who had recently been hired as AD, came from the middle parquet. He runs down, hops over the table, goes up to Candolino, who's challenging the Northwestern bench, and he puts him in a full Nelson and lifts Candolino's legs up like this until Candolino finally gave out. And then he just lost all his energy. And so Cord stopped the fight. And I'm just wondering, do you remember that? And what were your thoughts?
Listen, I do not remember that story. That's a heck of a story.
Okay.
Now I kind of wish I remembered. I could get some laughter out of it, but I do not remember that. But it sounds dangerous when you're involving Joe Nathan, and you said somebody was on top of him. I can't see him taking that very lightly. He probably got up, and there was probably some problems after that. But I don't remember that fight. That's incredible.
Well, the other thing interesting thing, this is from a stat crew point of view with Tony. Tony was playing Evansville at the Bradley Center, and he scored 8 points in a possession. And the game was about 57-45. Marquette was ahead. Tony stole the ball. He went in for a layup and got hammered. And the ref called a foul on it. And Jim Cruz, the coach of Evansville, charged the court. He got a technical. So Tony made 2 free throws. He made the 2 technicals. Marquette got the ball. It went into Trevor Powell. He scored and got fouled. He made the free throw. The coach got a second technical, and then the other player got a technical mouthing off. Tony made 4 more free throws. So I'm on the crew. I said, we just had 11. We have 11 points on this possession. And then Marquette gets the ball again, inbound to Engelvar, who hits a 3. That's 14 points on one possession. And they inbounded it to the Evansville guy, who he dribbled up, and he looked up at the scoreboard, and it was 71-46. And he did it. He just didn't double take. He was trying to figure that out. Do you have any recollection of that game at all? Because I've never seen any. I even sent that to the NCAA, saying 14 points on one possession. Do you recall that at all?
John, you're killing me with your memory here.
Okay.
He's Rain Man. That's Rain Man.
He is. It's incredible. This guy's recall. Let me give you one that I remember, John.
Yeah.
I remember because it hurts. There's a couple I remember, but I'll give you this one first. It was against Dayton, and it was Nigel Knight at the top of the key. The clock is running down. I don't know if the game was tied or we were up. I was watching the other shot clock on the other basket on the other end as he's dribbling and running the clock down. So it got down to a time I go, he can't get to the basket now. So I'm going to try to do something to disrupt him. So I kind of dove and took a stab at the ball, and I kind of went down when I did it, and I got a piece of the ball just like I wanted to. He turned around, picked it up, and it heaved almost a half-court shot, and it went in, and we lost. And that is like one of the games that I remember. It sticks in my mind. It just drives me nuts every time because my plan almost worked. I didn't get the ball as much as I wanted to because I slipped, but I did knock it away from him, which I was trying to do. But he just turned around, picked it up, and chucked it from almost half court and went in. I was very, very, very hurt at that one.
See, the great competitors don't remember their accolades, these incredible feats, such as what you're mentioning here, but that little bit that maybe gets away, right?
At the end of his senior year, actually, Bob Duquette was replaced by Kevin O'Neill. And Kevin O'Neill basically came in and looked at you and said, "You're the man," and everything went through Tony. And he had, until Wade was here and maybe Marcus Howard, Tony's senior year was the best ever of a Marquette player, just total dominance. What was Kevin O'Neill like, and what was it like playing for him?
Well, I don't think it was as easy as him saying you're the man. There was when we knew that we were getting a new coach, and we didn't know when. So we had a meeting. I think it was to meet the new coach, but no one came in the room. We were just sitting in the room, and guys are talking at that point, and then suddenly this guy who turned out to be the new coach, Kevin O'Neill, comes in, but he didn't even introduce himself. He just came in screaming. He's yelling like, you guys suck. You did this. Your grades are terrible. He's going over everybody's grades. He wasn't talking anything basketball. He's just talking about grades, just ripping guys. And we don't even know who he is. Mind you, at this point, he hadn't introduced himself. So it was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? What have you gotten into? And then, we get into the Russian Spartak game, and we wind up losing that game. And he wants my head now. He's like, I'm calling Bill Cords. We're getting rid of your scholarship. He said that to me and Tyrone Baldwin. He's like, you guys are out of here. You guys are supposed to be the senior leaders on this team, and this is what you do. So he gave it to us. But at the end of the day, he put the ball in my hands at the point guard position. I was not a point guard, as John had pointed out. I had played mostly two guard, and he put the ball in my hands at the point guard, and there's a lot of growing pains there. I had a few high turnover games there early, trying to learn that position, trying to handle the ball. But as John said, my senior year it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, to say the least, that was fantastic.
Toward the end of your senior year, you went on a scoring binge. You had 44 points, and the field house at Wisconsin were in your free throw shot was in the 90s as you went. And I remember that Kevin O'Neill got thrown out of that game, and as he was walking out, he shook Bucky Badger's hand as the mascot, as
He left early. I remember that too.
Right.
The game wasn't even over, and he's out of here.
But then you had the 43-point game against Butler, I think on senior day, and you were really feeling it toward the end of your senior year.
Yeah, just trying to win, right? Just trying to do what you can to help the team win, and you like a matchup out there, you just kind of go at it. I remember some of those games, but I just remember wanting to win. That's what I remember the most, and I'm going to try to do whatever I can do to win. I mean, I really, when I think about it, I didn't really shoot a lot. I think I had a pretty good shooting percentage. So, and from the guard position, that wasn't, that was kind of rare there to shoot, like almost 50% from the guard position. So I didn't shoot a lot. Sometimes I got criticized. I remember another game that we lost. I believe it was a Michigan game where I passed the ball at the end. I passed up a shot because I got doubled, and people were like, "Oh, you should have shot that." I passed it to Bruce Hayes, who was a walk-on, who was actually playing out there at that time in the game, and he missed a shot. So, I got a little criticized from that for some people, like, "Oh, you're the star on the team. You have to shoot that ball." But I was like, "Man, listen, this guy's open." We saw, what did we see last night? We saw LeBron do the same thing, right? LeBron comes in, he's covered. Passes to Dennis Schroeder, makes the shot. So, I just felt, I'm just trying to win out there, and if that's the best available shot, I'm gonna pass it.
You had an amazing career at Marquette, going from two guard to point guard, and I was in a trivia contest with Pete Wilt and Tom Erickson. The Chancery had it in the winter. Went round trip ticket to the Bucks-Laker game in Los Angeles the next year. Tony was drafted by the Lakers. We fly out, we rent a car from LAX, we come into the Forum parking lot, and we hear Chick Hearn say, here's an update. Magic Johnson just tweaked his hamstring in practice today, so he can't play. So tonight, Tony Smith, the rookie from Marquette, will be playing at point, and we're all in the car going, all right, this is amazing. We came in there. Was that your first start? Or I know you started against the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't even remember that the first start out there with the Bucks. I remember Magic got hurt a few other times, but I don't remember the tweak of the hamstring. What happened that game? Tell me, Mr. Good Memory. Fill me in.
Frank Cornett and Frank Brakowski scored 32 points on Worthy, and the Bucks won by about 4.
Wow.
So we were happy, and it was very quiet because the Bucks were ahead, and my friend was screaming, "Throw it to Dr. Brakowski, that Worthy ain't nothing." And it was echoing all across the Forum, and I knew everybody could hear it because Arsenio Hall kept standing up in the front row, and he's looking back, trying to figure out, where is that coming from? So, but that was, but you had an amazing NBA career then. Talk about a little bit about some of the teams you were on. You were with the Bucks, and then you went into broadcast.
Yeah, so it was fun, obviously, in LA. The funny thing about LA is I had never been there before I got drafted. But the summer before that, I was actually out in LA for a family reunion. That was my first trip to LA. We had a family reunion out there, so I met all of my cousins, like 3 of my aunts, and now all of a sudden the next year, I get drafted by LA. I go, oh, I was just there. I met my family there. So I had a lot of family when I went out there, which was a good thing. I roommate with my cousin while I was out there. So it was kind of a fortunate happening that we had that family reunion the year before. And, I was in LA for 5 years. They were in a transition period at that point. Magic had, after obviously my rookie season, we made it to the finals, lost to the Bulls. That was their first championship. But the following season is the season that Magic announced that he had HIV and that he was going to have to retire. So, well, he wound up didn't retire, obviously, because he came back the following year, tried to play again. But Lakers were in a bit of a transition. The Showtime Lakers that you probably see the TV show, the documentary on now, that was the end of the Showtime Lakers. Magic, I think at that point Byron was gone. He had left and went to Indiana. I wound up playing with AC Green again and Vlade Divac, who were on that Laker team my rookie year. In Charlotte, I played with Vlade, and Phoenix, I played with AC. So, that whole Showtime thing was falling apart at that point. Just transition. They had guys like Van Exel had gone out to LA, Cedric Ceballos, Anthony Peeler, Doug Christie, Sadell Threet. So those are the guys that were out in LA now. But then I went from LA. I went to Phoenix, and I always tell the funny story about Phoenix is I played there for the first half of the year. Played with Barkley. He was a character back then, just as you see him right now on TV. And Kevin Johnson, a great point guard there. And I remember I got traded at the trade deadline. I got traded from Phoenix to Miami, and people always ask me about the trade in NBA, and I go, man, I was at the mall one afternoon, and my agent calls me and says, hey, you're going to Miami. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm at the mall right now. Okay. So I got to hustle back because I got to fly out in the morning. So now I got to go back, pack up all my stuff, and get out of there in the morning. So, I literally packed like 5 duffel bags worth of stuff and just hopped on a plane. I had to have my friends pack my house up and move all my furniture for me. So, and then the next day, I got shoot around because there's a game the next day. And it was a big trade for Miami. They had traded like a bunch of people away. They had 5 guys coming in. It was myself, Tyrone Corbin, Tim Hardaway, who was it? God, I can see his name, but there's a couple other guys in there in that trade. So there's like 5 guys in that trade, and we only had like 8 guys to suit up. And guess who we were playing that day? The 72-10 Chicago Bulls. Oh. That's who was coming to town. So we got 8 guys to suit up. So I had to start. There's no guards. I had to start, and I had just got there that morning. So it was me and Rex Chapman in the backcourt, and I think Rex had maybe like 35. We still had Zoe. Zoe had a good game. Rex had like 35. I think I had like 14. We were running the most basic of basic plays because I didn't know any plays. So we wound up winning that game. So that was one of the Bulls, 72-10. That was one of their 10 losses, was to patched up in the makeshift Miami Heat team.
Kids obviously dream of playing in the NBA. When did you know, Tony, that, hey, I can play at that highest level?
Yeah, the weird thing is, like, it's not like it is now. Like, it's all over the place. With social media and TV being different than when I came up, kids are obviously thinking that immediately, right? They're thinking that in high school. I, on the other hand, was thinking, like, I don't know, I'm just playing and trying to see what I could do. I literally didn't think about even playing NBA until, like, after my senior year. Like, okay, I'm talking to Doc Rivers. He's like recommending me his agent, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm gonna go play. I really did not know if I was gonna get drafted or not. So, it's a totally different world today. Like, if I was a kid today, yeah, I'd probably in high school I'd have my sights set on playing in the NBA. But back then, it wasn't until after my senior year that I thought maybe I got a shot to play at the next level.
JD, how does you have maybe one more question for Tony, and I'll do the same. We could be here all day, but
Sure.
We want to leave you a little bit of your voice for your afternoon radio show with the Homer. You've been very gracious. Thank you so much.
Just want to find out who your mentors are in terms of broadcast. Your broadcasting career, you've improved every year into where you are now, and you've worked hard at it. You can just tell. Who are some of your mentors?
Yeah, well, I got into it with Steve Haywood, the late Steve Haywood.
Oh, Steve, sure.
Doing some NBA. Yep, doing some NBA Thursdays when he was with ESPN back in the day. So that's how I first got into radio. Otherwise, it's just becoming comfortable. Just understanding like, okay, what's going on. I was doing radio every now and then, and radio is obviously a different animal than TV. So then you get into TV. I started doing TV at the Fox for the Bucks on the pre and post game, and there's a learning curve there. You got to learn to look at the camera. You got to learn, just a lot of little things that people can't necessarily just like come up and tell you. So it's a lot of things. It's a lot about comfort, right? And being confident in what you're saying and doing your homework so you're saying the right things, and that gives you the ability to say them more clearly. So with basketball, for me, it's easy. I know the game, so I'm confident in what I'm saying when I'm talking about the game. But again, you guys know, you've been on TV, you've been on radio. It's just some little things you have to learn to be comfortable with. And, I feel like I've got guys like Homer bringing me along the way. There's some guys at Good Karma who do a good job of coaching you and trying to help you get better at your craft. But yeah, I watch a lot of TV. Obviously, I watch the talking heads on TV. I hear them on the radio when I'm driving. I have on talk radio. I used to always listen to music. Now all I listen to is talk radio.
So a student of the game as a player, and now a student of broadcast and excelling in both. Tony, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your mother. What an incredible woman. Because again, as I said, and we're all a little biased, but you're solid as a rock as a person. Tell me about her impact. Tell us about her impact on your life, please.
Yeah. She is incredible. You are exactly right. She is. I mean, she's done everything. As a kid, you don't really understand what your parents go through for you and do for you, and I probably didn't until later either. I was probably wondering why my mom was, yelling at me for this, yelling at me for that, but it's obviously teaching you the right thing and the right person to be. But we grew up in the church. She's still very religious to this day. I was just at her church a few weeks ago, and she got married. So congratulations to her. She's now married, and she's found a good guy to hang with here in her later years. She's 70 plus. I won't tell her age, but she's 70 plus. I'm just going to say that. But she's doing great.
Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks to Tony Smith, Hall of Fame point guard, for being our guest. If you want to see videotape on Royce Parham, the 6'9" power forward who committed this week from North Hills High School in Pittsburgh, just go to our website, marquettehoops.com. The archive of this show is at the top left-hand corner with the link. And just below that, you can drop your email address if you want to be included in our newsletter. Thanks again to our sponsor, Moonlight Graham, Modern Dental Benefits. We couldn't do it without Craig Caston and Moonlight Graham. Until next week, thanks for watching.